What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel, where today we are going to be covering the Cleveland Browns, who hold the number 2 overall pick in this year's NFL draft, and doing a 3-round mock draft with them. And the Browns find themselves with a couple important decisions to make for their franchise. This is a team who is pretty much coming off the back end of their Deshaun Watson signing, probably the worst contract in NFL history, and he is out for this season. So the Browns don't have a quarterback right now. They traded for Kenny Pickett, traded a fifth-round pick, and there's some questions on whether or not they're going to grab a quarterback in the draft, or at least how late they're going to grab a quarterback in the draft. If they're just going to ride with Kenny Pickett and maybe, go for next year. There's a couple of questions there. So the Browns do find themselves in an interesting position, and I think that this first pick for them could pretty much make or break their draft. So they have 4 picks in the first 3 rounds. Two, obviously, I believe 2 in the second, or is that a 67? Third, 2 in the third. So early third, second, first, and a late third. And obviously, in these, you see Cam Ward is going to end up going first overall. Not really a shocker here. I think that if the Titans decided to grab a player like Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, I do think that the Browns might be more inclined to grab Cam Ward as their quarterback. But being the way that it fell, Shedeur Sanders to me is not the quarterback that you want for the Cleveland Browns. I don't think he has, that level of talent to warrant being the number 2 overall pick. And I think grabbing him there would be a desperation move for a franchise that's already been through so much, and the fans have already been through so much. The last thing you want is to put them through 4 years of mediocrity. And frankly, I think that that's what Shedeur Sanders is going to give you. So, that being said, the Browns do have a couple of important needs that they need to take care of. They did take care of a couple of important things during this offseason, namely improving their defensive line, particularly their interior defensive line, and their offensive line. So they picked up a couple of guys, and there are a couple, different ways. Primarily, is Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter? Which one is going to advance your franchise for the longest period of time? In this case, I do think that both of them are in need. I don't think that the Browns' secondary is entirely great. Primarily their safeties, but their corners could really use some help, and Travis Hunter would definitely, improve that. However, I do think that when you have a player like Abdul Carter here, and you have the opportunity after just signing Myles Garrett to a huge contract to put him alongside Myles Garrett, one, have him learn from him, and two, that could be the scariest defensive line in the entire NFL. Imagine seeing Abdul Carter and Myles Garrett rushing at you from both sides. That's what the Browns want to do. I do think that they've always been pretty good as far, at least in the later, last couple of years. Their defense has been fairly solid for the most part. Kind of gets picked apart when their offense sucks so much, but I think they go back to that. I don't think you pass on the opportunity to match up Myles Garrett with potentially, I'm not going to say another Myles Garrett, but a genetically gifted athlete like Abdul Carter. So that's what the Browns are going to do. They go ahead and grab Abdul Carter, and we can see here a couple of the guys that went in this first round. Malachi Starks was the most interesting one. I see that he fell to 21. 49ers grabbing Will Johnson. So now the Browns have a couple of important decisions to make. They come back with the first pick in the second round. And there are guys here like Luther Burden, some great interior linemen like Derek Harmon and Darius Alexander, some important, linemen to beef up your O-line like Josh Connerly. And when I go through this, it's hard to ignore the fact that Jackson Dart is still sitting there at pick number 33 when he is expected to be a first round pick. That being said, if Jackson Dart is sitting here at pick 33, the Browns undoubtedly resolve their quarterback issues. They grab Jackson Dart, who, in my opinion, is by far the at least second best quarterback, potentially the best above Cam Ward in this draft. I am a big Jackson Dart believer. He's a quarterback. He has made some incredible plays in college that I've seen with pressure in his face, unwavered, takes his hit. I do think he has the makings of being a great quarterback. Unfortunately, in this circumstance, he's going to find himself going to the Cleveland Browns, which doesn't exactly help. But Jackson Dart being here at 33 when analysts, myself included, believe that he is going to be a first-round pick, it's hard to ignore the opportunity to grab Jackson Dart there. I think that was probably much easier of a pick than the first one. And we get to pick number 67. And what I really want to focus on here is the running back position and looking at what safeties are available. Because the Browns just lost Nick Chubb to unrestricted free agency. So they have Jerome Ford there, but is Jerome Ford really the answer? I don't necessarily believe so. I think he's shown some great, highlights, but it's hard to say that he is going to be that guy. Quinshon Judkins, on the other hand, a guy that I feel is much more talented than the 50th average draft position that he's being given, and a lot of people actually do believe that he could be a running back 1 in the NFL if given the opportunity. I do think that this is where the Browns find themselves, and you get value in Jackson Dart in the second round. You follow it up by getting extreme value at pick 67 in Quinshon Judkins. Now you've addressed your defensive line. You've got a quarterback for the future, and you've got your running back that can step in and hopefully replace Nick Chubb. If you can get these first 3 picks, and you have the opportunity to, I do think that this is where the Browns want to find themselves in. This could be, if everything fell this way, obviously we see Shamar Turner falling to 66. Crazily. If the Browns can find themselves with Quinshon Judkins to round out, their first pick in the 3rd round, that's exactly what they're going to want to do. And we find ourselves with pick number 94 and a couple of different opportunities here. Primarily, this is where you're going to find some of these safeties going. Tate Ratledge is a personal favorite of mine. I do think that for a late 3rd round pick, he could be, a really, really good player. You've also got, some opportunities at tackle. You could spend your 3rd round pick to grab a tight end. There's some thought that David Njoku could be leaving sooner rather than later, so maybe find his replacement. You have Tez Johnson, who was very underwhelming at his NFL draft combine. Very, very underwhelming, very disappointing. He went from everybody believed he was going to be a 1st round pick to he's running, I don't remember how fast his 4.4 was. I believe it was like 4.7. something like that. It was incredibly slow, incredibly poor. Um, and that he's been falling down some drafts because of this. Isaiah Bond is a speedster who is also an option. But again, like I said, my favorite person at this range is going to be Tate Ratledge, especially for a safety needy team like the Cleveland Browns. He has some good characteristics that could make him potentially a good safety in the NFL, primarily his ability to break up passes, but he isn't necessarily the most gifted athlete. His metrics aren't going to pop off the page. But he was steadily improving at Georgia. It's one of the reasons why they were so talented. And I think that this range right now for the Browns, for what they're trying to do, is perfect for Tate Ratledge. So we're going to round up by grabbing 2 offensive players, 2 defensive players, and taking care of a ton in this draft. But you see here, Jackson Dart getting an F at 33. PFF, your AI has no idea what it's doing. This is going to be a player that is definitely a first-round pick, and you guys definitely need to change that. But overall, I think that this was pretty good. I think that if the Browns were able to get these players, they would be very happy. I think Tate Ratledge can kind of interchange with some of the other safeties, but I enjoy his game tape much more than the other 2. So, that being said, tell me what you guys thought of this draft. Did you guys think that I did well, Cleveland Browns fans? Do you think that I'm butchering your team for the next 10 years? Let me know down in the comments below. So, it's been me. We'll be back with another one soon. If you guys like this video and you guys want to see more videos like this, make sure you smash that like button, comment if you're new here, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.